Food waste is something I'm passionate about, something that scares me but also intrigues me. Thank you, Mistress of Ceremonies, judges, and honorable guests. The global impact of food waste is immense but overlooked, affecting and affected by all of society, economically, environmentally, and socially. It's the duty of citizens, businesses, policymakers, and producers alike to work together to create a practical and successful solution. There are a lot of impacts from food waste, like I said, and some of these impacts are economic. They affect everybody in this country and in the world. $31 billion of food is wasted every year in Canada alone. That is equal to the combined GDP of the world's 29 poorest countries. 47% of this waste happens in the home. In Canada, that's equivalent to every Canadian basically throwing away $760 a year. And I don't know about you guys, but as a poor university student, that's kind of a big deal. Many businesses and many consumers are unaware of the amount of food they waste or its effect on their profitability or their income. There are also environmental impacts to food waste. Edible food ends up rotting in landfills, and it produces methane, which is actually 20 times stronger than CO2. If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, underneath China and the United States. The third largest in the world just from the food that we don't eat. This is a global issue. Tackling this issue could subsequently have a really large impact on our environmental contribution and in Canada and in the world. While composting has been taking a larger role in the way that we tackle food waste, it's not the only way that we can tackle food waste. And I think that's really important because many people think composting is the end-all really great answer to this, but lots of still edible food is being wasted. Composting is basically an expensive way to make dirt and animal feed, and while it definitely is helping, there are other options. There are also many social impacts to food waste. 40% of the food produced in the developed world and 30% of food produced worldwide is never actually consumed. Over 850,000 Canadians rely on a food bank every month, and more than 30% of fruits and vegetables never make it to a shelf because they aren't attractive enough. Even if just a quarter of the food that's currently wasted could be saved in the world, that would be enough to feed 870 million people. It's a really big issue, especially socially. Wasting food affects all consumers from the globe, from putting an orange back because there's a blemish on the peel, to not knowing where your next meal is coming from. It's systemic, it's widespread, and it's really important. In much of the developed world, there's a convenience mentality. It's one of the reasons this issue is so overlooked. And as of now, there's not really a convenient way for consumers to rescue food, to donate it somewhere from their home. I also believe that the social impacts are some of the hardest to talk about because they're behavioral and they're societal. It's very easy to turn a blind eye to a problem when everybody around you is contributing to it and the people who feel the hardest effects are so far away. This is an issue that affects and is affected by consumers, producers, businesses, and policymakers alike from all over the world. It is all of us who are responsible for making a change in our own ways, and all of us who are responsible for working together to do so. There are no easy answers, there's no clear defined lines on how to fix this, but there's a need for change and there's a few ideas. One of these ideas is food rescue. Currently in some cities there's programs that will take extra food from restaurants, grocery stores, even homes or events, and they'll transfer it to places who need it, such as food banks and homeless shelters. This happens at Second Harvest in Toronto is kind of the biggest one, but it also happens at the Stampede here. They do it with the leftovers from their pancake breakfasts and their events and things like that. If this idea could spread across the globe, it could have real impact. There's also the idea for tax breaks from the government that could be implemented. Right now, the government hasn't really done anything significant for this issue, and I think that they should. A $31 billion issue is something to be paid attention to. With the tax break, households or businesses that donate food could be given money back for doing so. And if this issue is noticed enough, we could implement something like that. Now, I didn't come here to guilt people into changing their ways. In the real world, that just doesn't work. I came here to educate, to help society notice an issue that gets so unnoticed, that gets so overlooked, and say, hey, society should care about this because it's real, it's practical, and it makes a big difference on our economy, on our environment, and on our society. I want to get a conversation started about what makes food waste such a big deal, and is there actually something we can do about it, and should we, and why? Guilt doesn't make people care, but conversation makes people care. My call to action is to start talking about this, and make this an issue that's known. Make this something that people want to change, and not just something that they want to ignore because it's hard to think about. It's a responsibility of consumers, producers, businesses, and policymakers to understand the importance of this issue and the impact that we could have. The effect of global food waste is often overlooked, though it is important. Reducing food waste subsequently has impacts on the world by boosting the economy, helping the environment, and bringing social improvement to our society. Citizens, businesses, and policymakers all have a role in shaping how this issue of food waste is tackled and eventually resolved.